of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Aloha and welcome to Be Fit for Health. This is Bianca, your host. It's another wonderful day to celebrate our health and wellness, and I'm really excited again, as usual, my usual MO of inviting people who are brilliant and just knowledgeable on topics that I'm very interested in, which is how do you get your body to optimum health and to do it in a way that's natural to your system and in a way to get you to a place where you can either manage what's going on with you or, get rid of it. It could be something as simple as balancing out your hormones or balancing out your nutrition, maybe getting some more exercise in, getting more sleep in. But, it's all comes down to, and I've always said this since day one when I started the show back in April, is that your nutrition is key, and understanding what your body can absorb or is not absorbing is important too. So once you can figure out your nutritional deficiencies and give your system the chemicals or the amino acids or whatever it is that it needs to get your body flowing properly, then you'll find that your body will respond and it can and will heal itself. It's developed this way. This is the way our body's set up. It's developed so that whatever your cells are doing, it communicates with each other. Whatever your nerves are doing, it communicates with each other. But once that communication stops, this is where all the discrepancies start. So, with me, with fibromyalgia, there are so many symptoms that come along with fibromyalgia that, all of us who have it have different root causes. So traditional Western medicine, although it's great with giving us, our pharmaceuticals, they don't necessarily always go into the root cause of a problem. And I have been an advocate of, natural medicine, holistic medicine, and Chinese medicine because of the fact that it's more natural to our system. Like, if you eat the right foods, if you eat whole foods, your body will recognize it and simulate it and use it as energy source. And ultimately, it is to produce energy so your body can be alive. Today's show is going to be really exciting because the person I'm bringing on today is new to our show. She's a doctor of chiropractic, and she's also studied functional medicine, and she's a practitioner for functional health. And she's also a big time believer, like I am, about nutrition, and that nutrition plays a huge role in balancing out your system. But one thing that she also does understand, as most functional medicine doctors and practitioners believe in, is that your gut health is the most important. If you can understand what type of a culture you have in your gut when it comes to bacteriums, then she'll be able to figure out, what type of nutrients that you might be lacking, what things that you might need to put into your system so that it balances out. She'll get into the brain and the gut relationship. Now that the holidays are here, gosh, we're probably putting a lot of things in our system that we shouldn't be. So Dr. Sara Chong has been here in Hawaii for a very long time. She is, and I cracked up when she gave me her bio because she also, and I believe this is true, she's a proud Korean mama. I love it. Dr. Sara Chong, are you on?
Yes. Hi.
Oh, hi. Hi. Thank you so much for taking your time and being with us because I know you're busy. You have a set schedule and, I appreciate you wanting to educate my audience with so many different aspects of our body system and doing it in such a more of a natural way than just, regular medical Western medicine. I think we need to take a look at different things and you have that. So I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bianca, for having me on your show. And I'm super grateful, especially because, yes, a lot of us, I think, are wanting and needing more of a different perspective, right? And so my goal in how I help my patients is just to do that, right? I come from a completely different background, and I see health in a very, kind of a complete whole system. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of my practice is, yes, heavily focused on digestive gut health. And I'll go a little bit into that, as we continue speaking. But my focus with why I put so much attention on that is because 80% of our immune system lives in our gut,
Right.
right? So if we know that if all of these pieces with how we eat, how we sleep, how we even manage our mindset and our stress levels, they actually directly impact our entire system and how our immune responds to that. So for me, I use a lot of nutrition, especially like the idea of not even just like a superfood, but pretty much everything that's holistic, everything that has healing properties, right? And so that's really where my passion comes from, is to know how can we do this in a way that's practical and that's accessible to people.
Right, and it's also cost effective. I mean, you're going to go to the grocery store and buy food. Might as well buy the food that's going to heal or give nutrients to the area that you're deficient in, right? So it makes more sense.
Exactly.
It costs more when you have to go to the doctor after the fact, right?
Yes, and that right there is a big piece, because how I led into following this path of becoming, functional medicine practitioner and all of that was my own kind of health history, and I grew up in a Korean American household. I was born and raised in California, and my mom, thankfully, she cooked all of our meals. Everything was like homemade. But even then, I grew up with so many issues with digestion, poor digestion. I suffered chronically from constipation, bloating, and then as I started getting older, I had lots of issues with like hormonal imbalances, like
Right.
PMS, heavy periods, all of these things, and even mood and irritability. And so at the time growing up, I just thought this was normal, right? Because as a kid, you don't really know. You just kind of follow with experience, and nobody really talks to you, or at least nobody talked to me about, hey, you should be pooping every day, or
Right.
hey, like you shouldn't be having, excruciating pain when your period comes, or things like that. And
Right.
and then when I do say something about it, then you get a simple pill. But a lot of the times, there is a reason why your body is responding that way. And my big piece to all of my patients, my friends, my colleagues, is that I want people to understand is that when you have symptoms, they're not necessarily a bad thing, okay? And I'm not saying they're good, but I'm saying that what they do is they give us a sign. They're actually an alert system. They're telling us, hey, something is going on. Please help me with this. And a lot of the times, we as you as a patient, and sadly in like even the healthcare system, we don't empower our patients to understand that they are totally capable to be fully aware of their body, their mind, their actions, their habits. And instead, all of the way that we've been kind of brought up and to think is that, if there's pain or if there's something wrong, I need to go and somebody else is going to fix this. And so in my practice, I really like to focus and teach people, we do this as a partnership. We guide each other through this, because if you're not aware of why your body is even reacting that way, you're never going to be aware that, hey, there's something that you can do something about it, right? Like you can do something about it. And especially during this year, right? We've seen COVID limit our access to so much, whether it be, let's say even to see your massage therapist or see your chiropractor or your acupuncturist, or even to get in with your doctor, right? When something goes wrong. And if we just give our patients and our colleagues and our friends and our family even the slightest bit of tools to be able to take care of kind of like, like the more mild symptoms, they have way more empowerment to be able to know what to do about it, so that we can take into our own hands the fact that, hey, wow, this is something that I'm more aware of. I know I need to either get help for this, or I can, I can do something immediately right now to help resolve it, rather than put them in this place where it's either, no, I can't go to the doctor right now because it's not severe enough, or I don't know what to do. I'm trying to see the right doctor. I don't know who to go to. Right, like we kind of leave them in this position of leaving them kind of feeling helpless. But my whole practice is, with my journey and experiencing all the things that I went through, in terms of realizing that my chronic issues at the time, even chronic constipation, like I said, and like severe like IBS, like gastritis, at the time I just thought it was so normal. So I lived my life up into my early 20s, just sort of dealing with it, right? It's just
Right.
accepting it.
We all do that.
And
Yeah.
yes. And so why I've, built my practice the way I have is to always get people to realize when those early signs and symptoms come on, don't ignore them, right? Acknowledge them, accept them in the sense of, wow, this is actually my body telling me that something is going on. So that there we can actually make steps to move forward with it. And that's where I started learning from my previous integrative chiropractor, who taught me so much about what I know now, and at the time I wasn't, I like grew up not really having to ever go to the doctors. It was always like in our household, oh, you only go if you're dying. Like if you only go if there's something so severe where you have to go to the doctors, right? Otherwise, it was kind of like these like home remedies. And so I just grew up thinking, okay, it's not a problem. I'm sure if we have like Pepto or some Tums or something, it's going to be my solution, right? That's it. Like if
And
you have
that was
problem,
the answer back then too. I mean, that's all we knew, really.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, I mean, fast forward, there's so many great research. There's so many great, people like practitioners, doctors who've put in the time and really understood and started researching the importance of gut health. And as I mentioned in the beginning, so 80% of our immune system lives in our gut. So right there should show us, wow, what we eat actually directly impacts how well our immune system works or not. And so food, then I want people to realize, is not just food just to like fill you up. Like, oh, it makes me feel good. Or, oh, like if I eat this, I have more energy. Yes, but food is actually information. It's information for every cell of our body. It's information for our brain. And so when we choose to understand it that way, then we can make better choices. Because I know a lot of people struggle with, well, what do I eat? Or tell me what to do when I have this problem. Or what should I eat when I have that problem? It's great. We can go down that list, and it can take like years, right? Because every individual is different. But if we understand first the concept that food is actually information to us. So meaning, if you eat a certain type of food, we have to, again, be aware, how does it affect me? Do I feel like this when I eat it? Do I feel good? Do I feel energized? Do I feel tired? Do I feel, irritable? Do I notice that I get even physical, like, do I get bloated? Do I get diarrhea? There's all these different, reactions and responses that come from just eating alone. But a lot of us are so detached from even the concept that we are not aware when we eat. Yeah. So a lot of people don't even realize that food has such a powerful impact on our health. Sure, you've heard, okay, of course you have to eat healthy, then you feel better. But there's this huge disconnect because it's been watered down. People don't realize that our action of actually eating food has to be a conscious thing. It has to be intentional. So that when we start putting food in our body, we'll know, wow, this actually impacts me. It's either going to give me some, great, reactions or responses, or it's going to make me feel not so great.
It's so funny. Don't forget what you're going to say. I wanted to also kind of interject this thought. If you're consciously thinking about what you're eating, your brain gets ready, the body system ready for that type of food. So if you're thinking, I'm going to eat luscious vegetables and just delicious, fruits and all this stuff, and your mouth starts watering because you already know what those taste like, and your brain gets stimulated, and it sends those impulses down to your system to remember, hey, get ready, we're going to get some good stuff. It's like already, it's connected to the emotional system too. So it does have a communication factor, like you're saying. It's a matter of what you get your body used to eating, correct? Too. I mean, like habitually.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that because, yes, that's like one of the ways that we connect the brain to the gut. When I don't know if people have heard, but like gut-brain axis, right? There's this actual connection, and we call it the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve comes and it actually starts in the brain, and they call it the wandering nerve because it has connections to different parts of the organs and all the way to the gut. So it's like this kind of like a highway, right? It's a communicating pathway so that the brain and gut can work together. Well, a lot of the times, like people think, oh, sure, they have this misconception that even when you just put food in your mouth, that's the only part of digestion that's really happening. right? But no, digestion starts in the brain.
Yeah.
It literally starts from you thinking about it, from you smelling it, from seeing it, from, of course, like then being able to taste and touch it. And so if we understand that, if even just in a sort of sensory somatic way, we understand that, wow, there's so much that influences how we do things and how our body responds to it.
Yeah.
And especially with food, it's one of those things that can kind of just impact us on so many layers and levels, right? Our emotional level, our physical, our chemical, and even like it can bring us back to these memories that we've had, right? And so when we can stimulate those things, why not use that as such a healing benefit, rather than it being just sort of this sort of numbing kind of comforting benefit, which is different. And I think we get wrapped up in believing that food, for myself, I should say, is that, food was such a level of comfort and a level of love and security. And for me, just like I loved food and I guess, everyone started terming it like, oh, being a foodie. Okay, great. You're a foodie. You love to eat food. That's great. Well, like everyone should eat food. Every living thing eats food.
I thought we're all foodies, aren't we?
Yes, right? And so what I have to start explaining to people is that your level of awareness, though, is very low. You may just love food, but food can't be everything and anything to you. It has to be what it is. It's information for us. It's a level of, nutrients that we can get in. It's all this sort of benefits, but it really shouldn't fill a void, though, right?
Right.
And when we have this sort of emotional void, when we're feeling the need for security or love or connection, those can be fulfilled in many different ways. And so for us to just only put all of that pressure on food and all of that responsibility on food, that actually takes us out of the fact that we are seeing the benefits. We're only expecting it to do something just because we need some sort of void filled. And then we lose connection with it.
Yep.
So there's this whole cycle where there is a physical component, an emotional component, and definitely a constitutional piece, right? When we talk about traditional Chinese and traditional Korean and like a lot of these traditional medicine and where it stemmed from, they understood that the body is an entire system. It's not compartmentalized, like when you go in and you say, oh, I feel like I have palpitation. Okay, well, here's something for the heart. Oh, I think I have something for diarrhea, or I have this. Well, no, those are all just little labels and symptoms. But I feel like as a true practitioner, we have to look at the person as a person, not the symptom. We have to see, who are you dealing with this? What is your life like? What was your childhood like? What is your, what is your daily schedule like? Has it been like, going through COVID like this? Like, we need to know where they're coming from.
Yeah,
so
the
that we
blueprint
understand,
of the person.
It's not, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when we see them as people again, right? Not just labeling them as patients with XYZ. It's people. People come in and they're trying to figure out what to do for themselves. So my job is to give them all these tools and teach them about, again, themselves, reconnect them with who they are so that they are best at understanding, wow, this is what's happening to me. So now I know what to do and I know what steps to take to be able to resolve these things.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny you have to go through something yourself, like I do? Like I'm doing this show because I have fibromyalgia. You're a functional practitioner because of your past history with your digestive system. It takes all of us who've gone through this hellhole that we've gone through for the past 15, 20 years for us to get to the place where we're like, okay, we've gone through this. We've done all of the testing. We've done all the trying and, trials and error. This is what we've come up with. And the funny thing is, audience, you and me, both of us have come to the same place. And a lot of us have come to the same place, is that functional medicine piece where it's more holistic and natural, that it all starts with, and everyone says this is crazy. Every person that brought on that's like us has said the same thing, gut health. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's why I appreciate when, you reached out and said, hey, like we wanted to interview me. And for me, it's like, it means a lot, not only because, you took the time to reach out, but also because we know this, we understand that so much of our story, so much of our life, it actually is happening to so many other people out there.
Oh,
It's
a lot
way
of
more
people.
common
Yeah.
than it really should be.
Yeah.
And I also want to emphasize like the word normal and common, because, we're taught, okay, sure, things are normal. Like for me, having constipation, that's normal. No, it's not.
It's not normal.
It is common. Okay. Yeah. And
It's-
having fibromyalgia, chronic pain, chronic suffering, it's not normal. It's common, but it should not be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people have to,
It's the off balance. It's like I was saying, and you're saying this in so many ways. When you're off balance, whether it's hormonal or if it's neurological or what have you, your body responds and lets you know. And you're right. Sometimes those symptoms tells a story. And besides, the symptoms aren't the answer to all of it either. You need to know how a person responds to stress. What's their family life like? Do they have support? Do they have love? All these things that tie to the limbic system, right? But
yes,
I think it makes a big difference. The reason why I'm cutting you short too, because I want to do a quick commercial. And when I come back, I want us to dive more into the steps that you would take. Let's talk about me, because I actually, I'm her very new client. And, and I came to her because of the same things she's gone through, I'm going through still. And she was smart enough to take care of it at a young age. I'm still suffering through it. Well, not anymore, though. I think you're going to take care of me really quickly. But when we come back, I want you to kind of talk to the audience about, like, what do you do with someone like me? Like, what are the protocols? Yeah. What are the steps? And, what are realistic expectations of taking somebody through those, and what do they expect to experience and feel? So hold on tight, Dr. Chong. We'll be right back, guys.
You don't need to be a member of a gym to get your health and fitness back on track. Be Fit for You with a Be Fit for Health online personal training and nutrition program. With 30 years of personal training experience, Bianca will help you better yourself and be fit for health. For more information or to schedule a free wellness consultation, visit BeFit4health.com for more.
All right, we're back. That was quick. I told you. I promised. It's literally 15 seconds, but you had to get it in. So Dr. Chong, I'm someone who's a professional, right? I've been doing this in the health industry for a very long time. I know a lot of stuff. I mean, I've dived into the medical journals and all those things just to learn about the body to a level where I should probably go back to medical school because I love it that much. You know what I mean? But since I'm older and life is just happening, that's not going to probably realistically happen. But as I'm researching more and more, I'm noticing more and more professionals at a high level of health and wellness, or doctors, going and seeking people like you to help them with, things that they may not have been able to figure out themselves, even though they have the knowledge. So I came to you because of the fibromyalgia, and we're trying to figure out the root cause, which functional medicine teaches you. So tell us, what would you do with someone like me? First, and how would you take that person through the steps, and what should I expect, or what should they expect as well when they're going through this process?
Yeah, so great question. So just to even start off in the beginning part, it's like when a patient actually wants to work with me, the main thing I will say is that we always first establish the fact of your story, so that I understand who you are. Remember, I said that the reason I emphasize that so much is because I hear from a lot of patients who've dealt with so many chronic conditions, especially in your case. They've gone to doctor after doctor, okay? They go into the visit. It takes them months to even get in. They finally get in. They only have a few, let's say 15 minutes, kind of run off on their spiel, and then they're hoping that there is, honestly, like some sort of magic answer to be able to fix everything that they just ran down. And a lot of the time they get dismissed, right? A lot of these women, especially, and I focus on women because we have a complexity of layering, which there's so many different symptoms, right? And that's when we call it syndrome, because it's just all these different types of symptoms. And so when they're not been able to be heard, and you don't hear their story, and you don't get to know who they are, honestly, it eliminates a huge factor of being able to help them.
Right.
To be able to find the fact that you as a human, right, you as a person, you're dealing with all these unknown and very, scary and lonely, right, and kind of isolating things. We as a practitioner have to honestly open ourselves up and allow you to be who you are, reveal all the, very, very scary, very vulnerable things within our first, consult even, because I need to get to know you so that there I'll be able to help guide you and see, hey, are we even a good fit? And I think this whole process of, functional medicine, it's a different approach. And what I like to say is different is that, for me at least, I go very in depth with getting to know you as a person so that it's like, I always say, it's like you're my girlfriend. If you were to go to your girlfriend, your friend of years and years and years, you don't have to think twice about it. You just open your heart and you let them in, right?
Right.
And that's how I like to focus on it, because we as women, we have this understanding, a deep bond, right? Even if we've never met each other, that we support each other and we open ourselves up, because that helps to allow the other person to feel comfortable and safe too, right?
Right.
And so when we already go through that process, then it becomes very easy for me to realize, wow, okay, she is, dealing with, let's say, X, Y, and Z. Okay. And from there, as you're speaking and telling me your story, I'm actually mentally even like kind of creating this sort of map. I'm creating a journey. I'm visualizing our journey together to see, hey, you're here. How can we get you there? Right? Like your goal is to be able to resolve or figure out the root and the meaning behind fibromyalgia. Well, from that, I have to know how to connect all the other pieces. Because it's not just the fibromyalgia. There are things causing your brain to react that way. They're causing those nerves to fire off. There are things causing you to have that sort of high hypersensitivity, right? So I have to understand, hey, we have to see it as, okay, it's not just her physical pain, okay? Because sure, we can go and, with my chiropractic background, sure, I can adjust you. I can do a lot of body work. I can do all of these different types of things with myofascial release, all of those. However, a bigger piece too is like I map it all together. How is your inner world and the outer world, how do they all connect? How are you interpreting all these things?
Exactly.
So with that complex piece, that's really how I determine, hey, is this a case, and is this a person, is this problem something I can help with? That's how I determine it. And then from there, once, so you and I are working together, then I know, hey, what's the best route? Not only what do I believe is, going to get her the best result, but also, again, considering your situation, even budgeting, right? Budgeting, making sure that we're able to collaborate together, making sure that, the recommendations are actually applicable to you.
Right.
Because I can run off 50 different things you could have tried or should try.
Right.
But how realistic is it for you and your lifestyle and the way that, even your capabilities and the things that you're willing and wanting to do?
Well, if you put stress on someone, it's not going to work either, because the stress factor is where the brain, they say, how's the body, how do you interpret things? The brain is then going to go emergency, emergency, emergency. You're stressing out. Guess what? The cortisol is good for you, but then if you have too much cortisol in your body, it's going to cause havoc. And that vagus nerve that you were talking about is not going to be your friend. It's going to cause you those IBS and issues and heart palpitations if you have any heart issues. I mean, these are the things that I'm experiencing, to the factor that if I had understood that stress was not my friend and that I'm not as strong as I think I am, that stress caused me to have the hypersensitivity factor too. Not just physical stress. I'm talking mental stress, emotional stress, right? So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand all that about the person.
Exactly. Because even as you say that, the first thing I always think too is the quickest and easiest way for me to know if I can help someone too, right? It's my own kind of perspective, and I kind of give you the behind the scenes of how I really enroll my patients too, is, are they willing to even consider food? Right? Are they willing to consider that piece? Why? Because it may sound small. It may sound so what's the big deal with food? If you realize and break down everyone's emotional ties with food. You ask someone to change one thing about it, they can they'll show you their true self.
Oh yeah, it's like you're asking them to break up with their love of their life.
Exactly.
Don't make me give up chocolate, Dr. Chong. Okay, I'm telling you.
and that right there, right. It's like you give me the answers. You give me your limitations. You tell me who you are, so I don't have to go digging and guessing. I'm like, oh, great. All I had to do was see, hey, what is your relationship with food, right? And if I say, sure, something like, I always ask too, it's like, what are your favorite foods? Because then I'll know, like, oh, these are the things that this person loves to eat. Then I know, oh, this is the level of awareness or unawareness, or this is like where we can start making improvements. These are the things that we can start focusing on. So there are all these little pieces within that consult. And as I continue, the journey we go on, there are different processes. And so how I see it is the first thing we really have to do is get your level of awareness up to a place where you're open to trying something new. And that's why I start with food, because not only is it kind of the most direct and honestly the easiest part, even though in the beginning it seems like such a huge challenge, it becomes very easy because I show you all these applicable ways to be able to incorporate new foods, to be able to know what your food triggers are, to be very self-aware. And also a big thing is to remove this food shame.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of us, especially in the health industry or even in like the physical part of like for you, to be a physical trainer and then also a dietitian, all of those things, we have this sort of stigma that, oh, only eat this way, this is going to help you, this is, in reality, everybody's different.
It's different.
And so I can't be the one to say, oh, just because I'm a doctor, I know better than you. No, they know who they are best.
Right. They know their body better.
Yes. And here I am learning more about you so that way we can find the best solutions from my knowledge to be able to be applied to how to benefit you best. And so that's a big thing. And using food, it's a way, again, we turn the kind of numbing part of it as a very high aware, more of a loving way, right? A nurturing way. Right. Instead of a numbing thing. And so food becomes very important. And then we evolve into, hey, how else do we support your system? Meaning, what other ways can we build up those good gut bacteria? How do we boost your immune system? And so from there, that's when there's this whole level of we start with the food. Then we focus on things like hydration. We focus on, literally sleeping.
Right, that's the key.
Sleep schedule.
Just to throw something else at you is that I was listening to this YouTube channel. This doctor, she's a neurologist, and she was talking about that if you don't get that sleep, and I talked about this on my show many of times, it's that deep sleep that allows your body to recover and regenerate and allows your cells to do what it's supposed to do. The problem with most people, truly, is that we really don't get into that deep sleep that we think we do. That's why people say it's really important to go to bed before a certain time and, so that you have that ability for your body to recharge the liver, to recharge, different organs and things like that. But just that basic concept of sleep is so important. So you may be somebody that goes to bed at 10 and gets up at 6 every morning, but do you actually sleep? Or do you toss and turn a lot all night? That's kind of important too, right?
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And here's another thing too: is like if you lay it all out, you realize these are all things that people have full access to. Okay, food, water, getting sleep, breathing, going outside and moving your body. Right? These are all foundational pieces.
Right.
But here's the hard part. The way that our brains have been programmed and kind of built into these habits, we don't know how to do that anymore. Instead, it's easier to just be like, give me the one thing that will fix it all. But there is no one thing, right? Here's somebody else do this. Go to your doctor, go to your personal trainer, everybody else do this. But even when you go to your personal trainer, even if you go and hire functional medicine, we are here to help support you.
Right. You have to do the work.
Yes. Yeah. It's like this whole thing is we can't make you be happy. We
True.
can't ask you to, it's like all these pieces. However, when we lay it out, and especially with the people I work with, all of these kind of come down into everybody wants to know, what do I eat? Can you just tell me what to eat? Can you tell me what to do? Can you tell me how to do those things? And when you answer those like basic questions, it allows them to be so empowered because everyone can do it. Everyone is so capable of helping themselves. It's just that we need to have this supportive and honestly, this sort of nurturing environment to allow them to feel confident and safe and secure and trust themselves.
So basically, you're educating them about themselves. Is like you're trying to empower that individual to take control of their lifestyle. So, besides doing the testing that you can do with somebody and getting some part of the answer to what's going on with them, the main component for you as a functional medicine is a lifestyle, current lifestyle performances. And then so just to kind of go through the motion, once you figured all that stuff out, depending on what it is, I'm assuming that's where you would take them through the nutritional component, correct?
Right, nutritional. Also, if obviously based on cases, there are great functional tests that I always recommend.
Okay.
And also listen to this part too, right? It's like there are so many. There's an endless amount of testing, right? That we have no problem knowing as a practitioner. If we need a test, it's out there. However, we also have to, we have to see it from the patient's perspective. If they're coming to us, it's a different type of budgeting, right? Because if you're used to, let's say, going to your doctors and then paying, let's say, a copay of $25 or something, and your insurance should cover this type of testing or that type. The difference there is not only with the quality of testing, it's that you won't get the full picture. You won't get the specialty testing. That actually gives us all the information we need. And so when there's a sort of limitation in that, and it's true, some of my patients are, Dr. Sara, I can't afford that right now. That doesn't hinder our progress. That doesn't somehow stunt us from moving forward or working together. These are just added pieces that help us get to your root cause faster.
Right.
But it does not negate the fact that no matter what, being able to know how to be able to nourish your body, how to be able to stabilize your blood sugar, how to be able to fully sleep and recover, how to be able to move your body in an intentional way, how to even do gratitude practices, right? Because that in itself can help, right? And help with improving digestion and even hormones. And so with that, there are so many benefits. And thankfully, great companies, great labs that have been making more and more of these functional testings because more and more people have been, diagnosed with a lot of these chronic, right, inflammatory conditions now.
Yep.
So we need to be able to meet them where they're at. And so for me, why not teach somebody the basics? And obviously, it doesn't mean it's simple. It doesn't mean it's this sort of childish thing, even a kid can understand. No, it's the fact that we have not been allowed to learn enough about ourselves.
Right.
We go through school, and starting from preschool, you learn what they feel is appropriate for you to learn. Then kindergarten, then first grade, then middle school, then all of that, right? So why not show you how health works? It's just another category. You have never been taught your body, who you are, why it does this, why it doesn't do that. And so you being able to know more about yourself, that's how we build the patient awareness, empowerment, and confidence.
Yeah, it's true because I know that Karen Gibson was on my show before, and she talked about EQ versus IQ. And in schools, they don't teach you about emotional intelligence; they just teach you your, brain intelligence. But if they would teach emotional intelligence, I think a lot of and I talk about stress a lot because that seems to be the number one reason why people have inflammatory responses too, based off emotional reaction, which involves the limbic system, the vagus system, and all that stuff. So I know that she had something that was so profound that it hit home because I remember growing up and having so many stresses that no one taught me how to deal with it. So what happened to me? I had gut issues like you. I would go to the bathroom. I couldn't go because I was, constipated or whatever. Didn't understand why. And so I would force myself to go. And then that would cause me to have some, neurological responses afterwards where I couldn't walk properly, that kind of. So the doctors, instead of helping me out or my family, because no one was intelligent about this stuff back then. It's so grateful that today doctors like you, practitioners, maybe even health enthusiasts like me, are out there where we recognize these things. And I recognize this within myself. And I understand now that my fibromyalgia is stemming from emotional stresses and physical stresses that I put myself through, and my body couldn't take it anymore. So now I'm off balance. So now the other question I was going to say to you from that, does that affect the bacteria culture too?
Yes. Oh, that's so great. Yes. So there have been numerous studies showing that bacteria, obviously, they are, again, living organisms, right? They're microorganisms. And I want a lot of people to understand this too, is that they're not good or bad. They just are. And there are ones that actually live within us, on us, and they support us to be healthy. So we actually kind of have this, what we call symbiotic relationship. We want to constantly feed them, nurture them, house them, right? And so we have a great relationship because they help keep us alive, healthy, functioning. And then there's other ones that we don't benefit from. And they end up giving us things like diarrhea, anxiety, migraines, pain. And so those are the ones we do our best to try to not house, not support, not have living in us or consuming them, right? So with that alone, yes, depending on your foundation. So let's say your body is your home. And if it is sick, if it's tired, if it's dealing with, loads and loads of stress, what it does, it lowers our immune system, right? Our defenses. And so when our immune system is down, it can't fight off of the kind of I guess you would want to term the kind of microbes that make us feel sick. It can't work to keep them out, or it can't work to help push them out of our system as fast, right? So then what happens? We end up getting symptoms, right? We get pain more, we get headaches, we can't sleep, we get, digestive issues. So yes, it's very important to understand that our environment and how we manage our stress and how we respond to, that kind of go mentality of never resting, that allows our bodies to be weaker and allows things to be able to, sort of expose our bodies to things that make us sick easier, right? And so they've even showed that those who don't sleep, right? We're going to kind of bring the sleep thing. They've even shown that people who don't go to sleep or even have difficulty sleeping at night and say, oh, I'm just a night owl, their gut bacteria actually change. So the ones that make us gain weight easier, the ones that give us more inflammation, they go up. And the ones that keep us, the ones that actually keep our mood stabilized, even our weight controlled by controlling our immune system and our blood sugar, and that keep us functioning and energized, they go down. So even that, just by you not sleeping, can change them and affect your own microbes, the ones that you already have. So that's why this is very important. And again, what can influence it? Sure, it's the sleep quality, the food quality, being able to rest when you need to and not become this sort of workaholic and push yourself to the point where your body burns out. That all affects it. And a good analogy too, if it helps for people or your listeners too, is like a plant, a house plant, or even if you see a garden. The ones that don't survive, like those flowers or those house plants that start to kind of die, whatever in there, was it the soil, was it maybe the lack of water or sunshine or whatever it needed to thrive, it weakened its own immune system, so then these bugs are able to infest it easier. If you think about our body like that, we create this environment so that those bugs can invade and expose and affect us.
So it's not my fault that I killed my basil plant.
Right. So then we have to see, yeah.
Okay,
Was
good.
it,
I felt really bad. Maybe I didn't sing it to it enough. I
yeah.
don't know.
No, there, right? We can always do it. We can say, oh, maybe, yeah, we didn't speak nicely to it. But again, let's just go back to the basics first. Was it the water quality? How was it with the soil? What about the stimulation, meaning like the sunlight exposure, right? Let's always try to first do the basics, so then from there we can always progress, because that's how we can help an actual patient get through their health journey. We start from the basics, but obviously from there we keep building on it, so that not only is it just, oh, is it always just a food, or is it always, there's more to it, but if you're not even doing the basics, we can't skip that step.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, as someone who's, the average person in the streets who's dealing with all these symptoms, and they sit on it, like we talked about in the beginning of the show, they don't understand all of this. So they are bombarded with, how do you even start, right? And they get overwhelmed with this whole thing, like, oh my God, I've got headaches, I have IBS, I have palpitations, I have anxiety attacks, and they don't realize it could be something as simple as sleep, maybe something as simple as getting back to their normal rhythm, maybe trying to do some of these breathing exercises. And people probably listen to us that may not be into this world, but believe it or not, breathing is important to live. And they don't realize is that we hold our breath a lot, right? I mean, when you're stressed out, pay attention to what you're doing. Your shoulders are tense usually, and you're holding your breath. And most people don't realize that's what they're doing. When they're thinking about something and they're stressing out about something, the last thing they're doing is taking deep breaths, and the last thing they're doing is relaxing their shoulders. And then they wonder, why did they have a headache that night? Because, it's something as simple as that. So functional medicine is not like a magic, all of a sudden you guys are these incredible, doctors and practitioners. Functional medicine, like you're saying, is back to the basics of breathing, eating well, sleeping, drinking enough water. But not just that simple, is also understanding deficiencies. You like you were telling me when we were talking, Bianca, what do you do? Like, what supplements do you take? What do you eat? Am I getting enough vegetables? Am I getting enough fruits? Well, how do I get that in my body if I don't eat much? Juicing, maybe, so you are one of those people that are going to help, pinpoint, okay, these are ways that you can work with your lifestyle, because you've gotten to know me, which is so important. And, I don't ever dog any of the Western medicine doctors. God bless them. They do the best they can with the amount of time that they're given per patient, and the amount of paperwork that they have to do after that, each patient. But it would be great if Western medicine kind of started going more towards the integrative, holistic, functional, naturopathic realm, because I think it would just make them even more important to all of us.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. This is not bashing. It's like no one's doing anything right or wrong. It's just these are the things that we have to understand our patients are needing, because now their conditions are different.
Different,
yeah. It's not as simple as oh, you have a headache. Well, here it is. Now the headache is actually, I have a headache, but then I also have anxiety, and I also have diarrhea, constipation. I also have this sort of sleep issue. I also have PMS. There's so many layers.
Right.
So for us to just ignore it and say, oh, well, let me just focus on your headache. It's like, no, but it's all tied in.
Yeah.
And so the piece with functional medicine is that the term itself, functional. How is a patient functioning? How is a person functioning throughout their life?
Right.
What are they doing every day? Because that is ultimately a huge, huge window into understanding why they come in with those kinds of symptoms, right? And so it helps me to know, wow, there is actually amazing research showing that even functionally, we can help them at a level before it gets to a pathology, thankfully, right? Like we'll have signs and symptoms telling us, oh, we have fatigue, we're constantly tired. Well, thank goodness, fatigue is the thing that's showing up. And it's not, let's say, I mean, knock on wood, but like not cancer, right? Like it's that, oh, you actually need these sort of minerals, let's say, or you need to sleep more, and like to be able to help them. And that's why I said it's this sort of, again, basic way to find a foundational piece to start with that person. Because we can jump from saying, oh, it could be cancer, it can be another autoimmune disease, it can be this. It's like, again, let's stop chasing so many of different diagnoses, but again, listen to the patient. Then we'll know them because they'll tell us, they'll be able to explain to us what their whole experience was like, and that will give us the answer to how to be able to help them best. But again, always teach them the foundation. We can't ignore that, right? And that's why I love that you said you had other practitioners on here, and no matter what, they would talk about gut health.
Yeah.
Because think about it, we all need to eat.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
why wouldn't that
sure.
be, right?
And I laugh at people when they say, "Oh, I just have one meal a day." I'm like going, "Well, really? Like, what do you do for the rest of the day?" Like, I know fasting is a big part of autophagy or other things that people might be doing, but what do you do when you do get a chance to consume? Like, what do you eat? Like, are you eating things that you're supposed to eat to support the body that you've, like, do you get enough of the fats? Do you get enough of the proteins? Do you get enough of the, the vegetables and fruits that you're supposed to get throughout the day? Because what happens is then you become deficient, even if you think you're doing something healthy. Because fasting, even in that world, there is a time slot for things, right? There's how many times a day, and it depends on your health of your body. So that's why they need to go see someone like you before they start doing something like that, when they don't even know what their body may be capable of doing or responding to.
Right. I love that you brought it up because recently, a lot of the intermittent fasting, keto has been booming. That's great. And there's nothing wrong with it. There really isn't.
It works, but if it's for the right person.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Do not ever forget that people are all individuals. Their needs are different. Yeah. Most of the women that come see me, if you really lay it out, they're very malnourished. Yeah. They could be eating a lot. They could be eating a lot of junk. They could be a lot of fillers, a lot of preservatives, but they're malnourished, meaning they're not getting the nutrients that their body needs.
Yeah.
So add fasting to that. It's not always going to be the solution for them.
No, not
That's
yet.
why I always focus. Let's first start with, what can we add in?
Right.
We're so much in this sort of deprivation sort of society and mindset. Let's keep pulling away. Let's keep taking it away. No, it's like, let's help you nourish. Let's start adding things in. Let's add, honestly, more love to you, more love to the fact that, like, your body needs to be nourished. Let's take care of you rather than stop taking things away from you.
Well,
right?
Dr. Chong, you're awesome. And I appreciate that, we're at the end of our show. I appreciate that you ended the show with love, because it all comes to loving yourself, receiving love, and that nourishes your soul. And when you're happy and loved and feel loved, your stress levels go down, and all those good endorphins and everything else that we need in our body, it becomes more plentiful. And because of that, that's when health starts to grow. And, you're an exceptional practitioner, a functional medicine practitioner and doctor. And I want people to be able to find you. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, great. So you can find me at doctorsarachong.com. That's DrSarachong.com. That's my website.
Okay.
You can also find me on Instagram at Dr. Sara Chong, on Facebook. So,
and what's the number? What's the phone number that can reach you?
And a phone number would be 808-200-4899.
And I know that if they listen to my show today, you got a special gift for them, correct?
Yeah. So for the listeners who call in, I provide 30-minute free consultation. It's called the Gut Checkup. And that's where we sit down and assess, and I'm basically, like I said, I get to know you. So within that time frame, we basically are understanding who you are, what your health concerns are, and how I can help you.
Hey, listen, guys, do it. And you know what? In fact, do it for the loved ones. If someone's not going to go do it on their own, call her up, get it set up, and have them go and make it like a Christmas present or something. You never know. This might change someone's life or your life. It's important. Dr. Chong, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. I will be in touch with you soon. For my audience, thank you very much for tuning in. This is Bianca at Be Fit for Health. Let's join me next week, and I look forward to speaking with you all again. Thank you. Aloha.